Aha! Well, are you guys ready to build a TRX-4? Guys, welcome to the budget build of a Traxxas TRX-4 Sport Kit. If you guys did not watch the unveiling of the project and the first overview of all the parts that we're using, be sure to do that. Check it out. I'm going to put a link to the video up in the top right corner. But today we're going to start the build process, and we start the truck by actually building the transmission. And as you can see, I have most of the stuff all in here. This truck comes with a ton of cool scale accessories. I can't wait to get into some of that. I have not painted the body yet. It's still a little bit too cold outside to go and do that, but soon we're going to do that as soon as it warms up enough to do it. If you guys do not know already, I'm going to do a green and black body. That color combo should be pretty interesting, and I kind of want to do a little bit of light spraying of black to give it a little bit of kind of like a mud splatter look. That'll be interesting. We're going to see what happens with that. Hopefully it warms up soon enough that we can start to work on that. What we're going to need first is this transmission bag right here. The transmission, single speed transmission, unlike what we just built 2 years ago in the original chassis kit build. We're going to start with the transmission. Let's get started. All right, so I brought out the tool packet that came with the truck because I am going to use the tools that they supply, even though I have plenty of them at my shop right now. I'm just going to use what they gave me because they intended it for that, and might as well break in a new set of tools, right? I'm sure that a lot of you guys in the hobby have got tons of these 4-way wheel nut wrenches. They come in pretty much almost any hobby grade RC vehicle, so we've all got a ton of them. We all know that, but they work, and we're going to go ahead and just use everything that they gave us. This is the high performance grease. I am going to guess it's about the exact same grease that came in the chassis kit because it looks like it's the same kind of bottle, and we are working with a very similar truck. So it should be kind of green colored if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go ahead and pop that. And there we go. Yeah, it's green. All right, close that up. We're going to need it shortly though for the bearings. All right, opening up the first parts bag. So this is the same transmission housing as what we have in the other TRX-4, with the exception of the 2-speed servo. This transmission can be made into a 2-speed transmission with the 2-speed transmission kit that you can get separately, but I'm not going to do that because I do want to have a slightly different truck. All metal gears here. We've got our output shafts and our input shafts, our bearings, screws, and what looks like probably slipper clutch plates, and then these are our friction pads and some other components that we're going to get into shortly. So I'm jumping into the first step right now, but I do encourage that if you are building along with me or you are working on any other kit on your own time, that you do go through all of the suggestions that are read in the beginning of the instruction manual, because they are important. They do put it there for a reason. If you need any hints or help or ideas of what you're going to need throughout the build, it's very good to consult this portion of the manual first before you start building. You really should do that, especially if you're new to the kit. Also, you have your legend here, which shows you everything of what all these different icons are going to mean, all your different screw types and E-clips, and all these different options and aluminum part icons, and when to apply grease. But right now I'm going to start with step 1, which is going to be seating a few bearings into the housing of the transmission. I also want to show you that if you're wondering what kind of bearing you're supposed to be looking for, you can actually go to the manual itself and hold the bearing up to the image that is on the side of the instructions, and it will actually be the same size. For parts that are small enough, they actually make the picture of them in the manual in a 1-to-1 scale. So most of the screws and E-clips, and especially the bearings, you can see here, even some of the smaller gears are actually going to be the same size that they are on the paper as they are in real life. I'm going to open up our input and output shafts. You can see here that they're actually telling me to not put a pin inside of these specific holes that have been marked with an X. Be sure to pay attention to your instructions carefully, because little things like this could easily be missed, but Traxxas does make the effort to show you, don't put a pin in here. At this point in the build, I am guessing that they're not putting a pin here because of the 2-speed transmission not being in this truck. That's my guess. I might be wrong about that. We'll find out later. But my guess is that that would be if you were to do a 2-speed transmission conversion. These nicely machined all metal gears. This is going to be the single speed gear because we don't have a 2-speed transmission. So now that I have the transmission screwed together, there were 5 screws right here that were used to close up the main portion of the transmission housing. The transmission is spinning freely. There's no binding. It does tell you here that once the transfer case is built, to make sure that there is no binding. I did notice that it was a little bit tricky to start a couple of the screws just because it's brand new plastic, but there's really no issue there. I'm also going to tell you that you should definitely use hand tools. I'm using the little Allen wrench that they gave me in the kit. You could also use a screwdriver like this that has a Allen wrench bit in the tip of it, but you really should use something that's hand powered and not electrical, because you don't want to strip out the screw heads or the screw holes, so that way you don't need to worry about getting new plastic parts if those things strip. The next step is to seat a few more bearings and then get the transfer case in. I'm glad that Traxxas included this little piece, and you may be wondering, what is this? Well, this is actually the plug that plugs up the hole where the shifting shaft would go for the 2-speed transmission. Right here is where you would have the shifting fork and the pin that goes back and forth operating on a servo. Since we don't have that, there's a hole that's left in the transmission, and easily water could get in here and flood the transmission. So Traxxas makes this little rubber plug that goes right in there and keeps water from coming out. So now that the transmission is pretty much all closed up, I've got an Allen wrench in here and I'm just going to turn it and make sure that it feels nice and smooth, which it does, spinning nice and freely both ways. This transmission does not have a grace period as you turn it like the other transmission in the chassis kit did. The other transmission had a little bit of a grace period in it, so that way if you shift, the transmission rotates a little bit before it actually transfers power to the wheels in the event that the shifter did not place into the gear right away. It allows a little bit of slippage, so that way when the shifter is switched, when you're stopped, it can actually shift into place without breaking the shifter itself. And there we go. The transmission is all done. It's running nice and smooth. Everything went together just as it should. And that was really what I was expecting, because Traxxas does a great job with the precision of their products. And the instructions are so easy to follow, especially with it all being nice and colored pages, and also very in-depth detail of everything going together. They even show you over here that the spring washers for the slipper clutch, the orientation that they need to be in, so that way they function properly. That's really great, and it really is a great instruction manual that's very easy to follow. So I'm going to end this video off here. We're going to pick it up next time working on the spools and then what will be the rear axle. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I sure did. It's a very fun project. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.